kitchen chaos to well-oiled machines. Get ready for newfangled technology and old-school know-how. Stories and a good bit of fun. I'm Simon, and this is Culinary Mechanic. Joining me today is Brent Weathers. Your handle on Instagram is Brent Eats Food. I don't think I could think of anything better. Welcome, man.
Yeah, good to be. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. As we were warming up to this recording, we had some pretty good conversations, so I can't wait for the rest.
Me too.
Um, I am all about like this is culinary mechanic, so
Yeah.
we're gonna throw it in gear and press on the gas and say, how'd you get into this industry, man?
Man, I guess there's a few answers, but the main thing is I moved to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. A friend of mine says, Brent, we can get a job at this one restaurant, and they I think they look for everything. They wanted everything. They wanted all the positions. But he was like, Brent, I used to be a busboy, so we can go over there and be a busboy. And it's easy money, probably free food, less stress, nothing to it, and whatnot. So I went with him. He had experience, and I didn't have any experience. He did not get hired because he had experience. I got hired because I had zero experience, and that was my
Uh,
introduction to the restaurant racket. And I was 19 years old, and that the restaurant was that. It was funny because they didn't do this for this reason, but we had green aprons. So even though it was green, they had a green apron to go along with it. And so I yeah, that was my first. Um, yeah, I didn't know nothing about food, know nothing about the industry at all, zero experience, nothing. And yeah, that's how it happened. And then they trained everybody that was really green. They trained everybody that had zero experience, and that's what they kind
nice.
of wanted. They wanted to take people and mold them,
Yeah,
and they literally
yeah,
they no zero habits. Like they was taking people off the street working at like a furniture store or a fast food place or whatever, and they were taking people and learning and teaching them how to be beast in the kitchen, really, man. Everyone that worked in that restaurant, everybody, general managers, front of the house, cooks, everyone washed dishes. That was the first thing they did. And then they would, then they would grow that way. So whoever walked in the kitchen, if they wanted to be a general manager, if they wanted to be not bartender, like servers were straight that. But if you were in anything back of the house or in management, everyone worked in the kitchen, everyone worked in the dish pit, and then they molded you, and then they went that way. So
I love that, man. I do. I think that understanding what that or those people, right? Well, understanding that position means that like it's like doing a sit-up, right? It strengthens the
yeah,
core. It's
yeah,
that's the foundation,
it was
like
beautiful.
I love that. Um, okay, so you're in.
I'm in.
And I feel like as a cook myself for a long time, like there was always moments where like I had this guy who said, "Hey man, you wanna come roast coffee with me?" And I was like, "No man, I'm in love with what I do. Like you can't take me away from that."
At all.
So are there moments like what is it for you that like said I have to be doing this?
Well, I mean, I have a sweet tooth. I love to eat. I was raised in 4 years of my life. I was in Naples, Italy, and then after that, I went to Izmir, Turkey. So I grew up with amazing food. I always love to eat and eat a lot. I have a ridiculous sweet tooth. I have a chocolate appreciation disorder where I can't just have a few pieces of chocolate. I can't be a regular person. Like hold on. I see these. I'm not gonna say their name because I don't want to get sued. These right here. Yes,
Uh-huh.
I can't just have 12. I can't just have a few like they come in 12 or sometimes they come in 24 or whatever. I can't just have a few two and just get some later. I'm eating them right then and there, all of them. So that and potatoes, like I'm obsessed. anything potato related. I have a potato I have a potato appreciation disorder. I can't just
Oh,
have a
let me
few
write
French
that
fries.
down. I
Please
love
write it
that.
down. I gotta make a shirt
Potato
out of that.
appreciation.
No, it's a straight. No,
Oh,
no,
it's so
yeah,
good.
no, straight up. I can't just have a few fries and just. I can't just go to a place I went to last night. The fast food spot, and I can't just get one fry. I have to get two. I have to get two, and I'm eating. I mean, it's bad. I'm grabbing them like this, like it's a ball. Sometimes, don't judge me, whoever's looking. I take the fries, and I scrunch them up like this, and I eat them like it's an apple.
Yep.
Like I have a problem. So I was cooking, or I was in the
I ain't
kitchen.
mad at you, by the way.
Thank you, appreciate that. So I'm in the kitchen. So 6 months I'm cooking, or excuse me, 6 months I'm in a dish pit. I'm washing dishes, I'm running tables, taking out trash. One day, this guy named Scott, he goes, "Hey Brent, today you're working the oven." I'm like, "Oh." I mean, I didn't think I was worthy to. I'm working the oven. So yeah, Brent, it's easy. All you got to do is just, I had to watch the half chicken. We did a whole chicken, but we served half of it. It was a cheese bread. It was whole. It was rolls. It was potatoes. It was something else, and that was it. Oh, lasagnas. And so yeah, Brent, it's
Nice.
easy. All I got to do is they told me what to do. Brent, it's easy. I'm here with you, and I worked it. And here's the power of encouragement. One day, the owner's son walked by, and he gave me $5 or $10. I mean, back in those days, back in '99, five was heavy. I want to say 10, but just so I'm not lying, I'll say it's $5. He gave me $5, like, "Hey man, thank you for your hard work today." And I was like, man, my goodness, like you have the people up here acknowledging me, and then
Nice.
the owner is like, "Hey, I like Brent. He has heart. I'm 19 years old. I like Brent. He has heart." So then the guy named Charlie, I think Charlie Frazier, he comes up to me and says, "Hey, Brent, Mr. Demus just said that he liked you. You have heart." I'm like, "What?" And so now I'm just like, "Yeah, I like this." And I was like, "I want to cook. I want to, you know what? I want to be a chef one day." Because at the house, I was already, I mean, due to my, sugar appreciation disorder, I'm making cheesecakes. I'm making breads by myself. Like all that Top
Nice.
Chef stuff wasn't out. Iron Chef wasn't popping. What's his name? Emerald was on,
Yep.
but that was about it. And I wasn't watching Julia Childs back in those days. I wasn't on that. I was watching. If I watched anything, it was Emerald because he made it look fun, and he was saying "Bam." He had a band behind him.
Bam.
Yeah, he had a band behind him. So I was like, man, this is dope. So I'm obsessed with bread. I'm obsessed with cheesecake. I'm obsessed with ice cream. And then I'm starting to cook. And I was like, you know what? It makes sense for me to be a chef. And I was like, I want to be a chef. And so that's back in '99. And so between today and June, I don't know, 13th, June 9th of '99 is when I started cooking. So today to then is when I'm still obsessed. I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, I mean, that is yes. I know those moments, I know those feelings of like I love doing this. I think I got into the whole feeling of like being in a restaurant within like 6 months. I was probably 16 years old,
Okay.
and like it wasn't food for me at first. It
Okay.
was like first of all, I was a nerd in school, right?
Sure.
Ain't nobody really loved me. Like I wasn't anybody's great friend. I was too obsessed with my calculus and my physics and right, like the
Oh,
studies, and I loved that stuff.
nice.
And so I don't, whatever. I was in the band, all that shit, right? So
Nice.
there I'm in a kitchen, and it for me it was like the first real time where hard work, where sweating, where like that paid off, right? Like
Yeah.
if you could rock the grill at the end of the night,
Yeah.
you send all those steaks, you make all that money for the boss, like people are like high-fiving you, and now you're somebody
Correct.
within a circle. That was the beginning for me. I think it
Yeah.
was a couple years down the road where I was like, wait, I'm kind of good at this. Like I'm not great at
Right.
this. I'm good at this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, now it's time to like go, you know.
Yeah.
Hell, I dropped out of college to be a cook.
Oh, wonderful.
I was
Yeah.
at UMass Amherst in engineering, you know.
Okay.
Um, but by
Nice.
that point, it was like I had the bug. Like I started to cook at home, and you
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I love it. The For me, always though, like community and people always were like really close to the forefront. Even when I got
Yeah.
obsessed with food, it was about how you could work together, and then God forbid you had an open kitchen and you could see how you made somebody feel.
Absolutely. That's always beautiful to watch someone's eyes roll back, or they don't even know you're listening. There's like, oh my goodness, taste this, and you're watching them, and it's something that you made from start to finish. And they're
Yup.
just like raving. And because first they take the pictures out, I was like, okay, that's cool, but how does it taste? Because you can take all the pictures you want and still like, yeah, can I ask for no more salt or whatever? But as soon as the food gets there and everyone's like, take this is the pin, but it's gonna identify as a fork, and everyone's doing this right here, and they're feeding each other, and they're just like, you have to try this, and you're just looking at them. It's like, man, I love
Uh-huh.
this restaurant. I love the chef. Who made this? And you're watching them and you're overhearing them. They're not even doing it for you.
That is,
You're
you want
hearing
to talk
them
about a
talk.
drug?
That's the best thing in the world. That's
Yeah,
better, and that's my point. That's better than a star. That's better than a beard award. That's better. I'm literally. Uh, that's better than any award. Period. And people are worrying about the wrong thing. Is your food good? Is there a line at the door? Is there people upset because I put a reservation last Thursday and you said, are people angry because they can't get in? That's the main award. Because
yeah,
unfortunately, some of that stuff can be, I'm not in the mood, sorry, but play to pay. If you got the money, they got the time. You know what I'm saying? That's just a fact. If you got the money, we had to pay Michelin. I forgot. I think it was like these major cities. It was like, I don't want to over exaggerate, but long story short, Texas in their combined Justice League, Justice League, Avenger minded. They came together,
yeah.
wrote, got all this money together, paid Michelin to come down to Texas to give out a bunch of awards. Like, you know what I'm saying? And a few of them they had misunderstood. Michelin themselves, they kind of, what was it? I forgot. It was two restaurants. They had the wrong spelling on one, gave awards to the wrong people, and you guys are
Oh,
breaking their. It's a fact. Look it up. It's a fact. People, they gave awards they gave acknowledgement to the wrong restaurant. This is the so-called Michelin award people. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, is that really important? What's really important is that, hey, look, dude, you can't get in this restaurant for another, 3 months. When
uh-huh,
Fat
uh-huh.
Duck and El Bulli and French Laundry to this day, not well, a few of them. I mean, French Laundry for sure. You have to have like, it's a whole strategy, it's a whole scheme just to get into the restaurant. That's the biggest reward.
Yeah,
That's your only reward you need to be caring about. Stars and plaques on the wall and your name in the paper. That's cool. It feels like, hey mom, guess what I did today? I have an award from a my mom doesn't even. You know what? I didn't even tell my mom about Michelin. I worked at a restaurant where we got an award. I didn't even tell her about it. I think I did. I think I said something about it, but she didn't even know what I was talking about.
no,
My mom was
no.
so proud of me. My mom was like, "Brent, I'm glad that you doing living your life." And I said, "Mom, I'll be in New York and I'll be cooking at a restaurant. It's called a James Beard House, and Brent, I'm happy for you." My mom doesn't even check
But
for it.
she don't care.
She don't
But
care. But it's like I just want chefs to understand that it's like, dude, that's you're I get it. You want to you want to go back to your class reunion and
yeah.
flash a bunch of medals. Wonderful. But is that really, really important? Is your food good and is there a line out the door? To me, I think that's first. And then the other stuff, it should come as it comes.
Well, I mean, I think that what you're saying is something that I say to people on a regular basis, and it's, have you ever experienced, you go to that restaurant that's got that James Beard Award? And I don't, honestly, I don't have a ton of experience with the Michelin stuff because I think
Uh-huh.
that as Michelin has gotten
Bigger?
available and bigger in this country, I moved out of that segment. Like I
Sure.
moved out of the as the country was coming away from heavy duty fine dining, so did I.
Correct.
Right? I
Sure.
moved down into a place where we're still using white linen napkins, but there aren't quite as many steps to service and a little bit faster. And
Sure.
Definitely a slightly lower price point. But for me, James Beard Award, and how many times have we seen this? Oh, they have a James Beard Award. Tick, 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 tick. 9 months later, you're closed. Why? Because they
Absolutely.
didn't run a business. They ran it for in the name of trying to do a great thing instead of the right thing. And the right thing is serve those people, create experiences that can't be replicated by other people. And that's not
Sure.
just the food, right? Like that's the hospitality. That's the oh, you were here last week. Have you tried our other thing? Right?
Right.
I don't know about you, but I did not get into the restaurant business to spend all my time in a cramped little office. I love being in the kitchen, out on the floor. And if you're nodding your head right now, I want to introduce you to an amazing company called Starfish. Look, I've gotten to know their CEO, Jordan, recently, and what they're building really impresses me. They're using AI to read your P&L, and they're going to email you actionable insights every week so you can lower your costs and increase revenue. Best part is you don't have to spend time digging through your P&Ls, poring over reports in that cramped little office. Starfish is going to do that for you so you can get back to the part of the business that you love. If you're interested, go to their website, use starfish.com. That's USE starfish.com, and tell them Simon sent you. You're
Right.
you're a you're a guest in my home. Those are the restaurants, whether they be serving, uh, barbecue white bread and a big pat of butter,
Correct.
or the really expensive piece of otoro at the sushi
Sure.
bar, where
Sure.
if you put soy sauce on it, the chef's gonna cut you.
Sure.
True
Sure.
story, by
Sure.
the way.
Oh, nice. Nice. I think it's very
I
cool
had
when,
a, I had a chef raise his knife and say, not to me, not to me. I'm not like, but I witnessed it, right?
oh
Big
my goodness.
tall, big tall white man in a beautiful suit, and he's going and he's reaching for the soy sauce, and the chef behind the counter picks up his petty, and he goes, "You do that, you have one less finger." And the big guy goes, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Well, what am I
Yeah.
supposed to do?" He said, "Eat. I have prepared this for you." And the guy eats it and he goes, "Oh, I didn't need soy sauce." He says, "No."
So here's the deal. I rock with both sides. Why was the soy sauce available for him? See, you know what I'm saying? Like we
Yeah,
you're
amen.
you're a burger place, you're a steak place, and yet you have A1 and ketchup available. And when the guest says, "Hey, can I get some more ketchup?" then the chef gets offended. Why was it there if it's that serious? So
Yep,
you have to understand.
I'm
Sometimes
with you.
people drive by your restaurant. Guess what? It's a family vacation. They're going to go to Scottsdale to visit their ain't. Let me stop. They're going to visit some people. It's a family trip. They drive by a restaurant, and just like wine, they judged it by the label. They say, "Hey, that looks interesting. Is that a restaurant? Let's go in there and sit down." Some people, guess what they want? They just want supper. They want
Yep,
dinner. They don't care about what they don't care about your rooftop garden. They don't care
yep.
about what's local and what wasn't. They're hungry. It's a family of five, four, whatever it is, and they just want some. It's a restaurant. They just want to eat. And so if they agree on sushi that day and soy sauce is at the table, don't get mad
They're
if
gonna
they
use soy
grab it and try.
sauce.
Don't. Why was it there if it's that serious? Now, if it's in the back, just to get that one, because at the restaurant I worked at, we carried A1 sauce for a while, even though we made our own bordelaise and a poivre and bernaise and the other joints. You know what I'm saying? We had all these stuff, all these sauces, and people still like, yeah, that's cool and all. I want A1 sauce. And why would we get mad when we bought it? Oh, they want A1 sauce. I'm gonna go get them. Why we? If it's that serious, why you buy it anyway? So yeah, so there's two
No,
ways of looking at
I'm
that.
with you. It's
There's
it's
two
a
ways of
it's a
looking at
hard
it.
it's a hard balance, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I think that it's a little bit of chefs not one like chefs having a certain level of ego, having a certain level of desire to display what it is they have, right? Like to bang their chest a little bit.
uh huh,
And the reality is you work for a business, right? And
correct.
so So for me, the greatest marriages of those are the ones where they don't offer, like you say. Like
Hmm.
if you don't want to drop to that level, then don't drop to that level. But on the other side, right? Because there's so many sides of this coin. This is
Sure.
one of my favorite stories. I used to work in a Mexican restaurant with
Okay.
Southwestern food, Tex-Mex, and we used to serve breakfast potatoes at brunch, right?
Uh-huh.
Red potatoes cut in quarters,
Hmm.
roasted hard, onions and peppers and all kinds of good love.
Uh-huh.
And this guy sits down and he goes, "You got any ranch dressing?" And the server was like perplexed. She's like, "Oh my God, he just ordered ranch dressing." So she goes to the general manager and says, "What do I do?" And he says, "Hang on a minute." He walks out the back door and he goes down two doors to the bar and grill, right? The sports bar. And he goes, "Hey man, can I have like 2 ounces of ranch dressing?" Drops it in a little soufflé cup. Boom, comes back, comes to me and says, "Can you get this into a ramekin and like maximize it?" I was like, "Yes." Boom, done. He walked out and he said, "I heard you were looking for some ranch dressing. Here you go." That guy started coming to that restaurant at 11 o'clock on Saturday and sitting on the end of the bar every week. And we had his ranch dressing. Why? Because we had his ranch dressing and he knew that we were going to take care of him. I
Done.
don't think there can be anything better.
No, no, there isn't. There isn't. There isn't. Yeah, you have to
You
be
know,
smart with your. It's a understand where you're at. Understand where you're at. If you're in Tyler, Texas, right? Because that down the street from it's like an hour and a half for me. Guess what they're serving? They're serving frog legs and catfish and they're chicken fingers frozen and all that kind of stuff. And guess what? There's restaurants packed, right? So me going down there, trying to open up something fine dining. Um, there's a gentleman down there named Lance McCorder. If I said his name right, oops. Anyway, there's a gentleman down there. He's cooking. He's doing some amazing food, and he's understanding the clientele. So I don't want to go down there and say, "Hey guys, I have a caviar flight, and we're doing foie gras 3 ways." And dude, I'm in Tyler. That's not what they're looking for. I want to open up a restaurant, and it's rude for me to be like, they're going to eat the food that I want to make. You'll go out of business quick. Your
yep.
wife will leave you, and you won't be able to pay for your kids' tuition and whatever. And you're gonna end up working back at a bar and grill with a failed restaurant story. Or you can be like, I'm gonna open up a restaurant. I want to do the food that I want to do, but also I'm also minded about what's around me. And I know what people want in this city. So it looks like, you know what? I may have to throw a burger on the menu. I may have to throw some kid options on the menu because it is a business. And when
Yep.
people drive by, they're going to be, I mean, some restaurants, it's 3 Michelin, it's restaurant, it's reservations only, and you can't just walk in there and do that, right? Because if you go to the French Laundry, second time I rung them up, if you go to the French Laundry, you should know what you're getting yourself into. You're not just going there. It's an issue to get there, so you already know what you're getting yourself into. But if we're just a if we're just a casual restaurant, and you want to, like you need to be smart about your options. Like have her squid ink pasta and stuff on the menu, but you probably need to go ahead and have a meatball. Like you need to have a meat sauce, you know what I mean, spaghetti as well, because
Yep.
not everyone wants to eat that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think that, as I get older, I think that what I realize about what you just said is that's what good business is, right?
Yeah,
Like if you look around at entrepreneurs, what are they
yep,
trying to do? Every entrepreneur I talk to lately says, "Well, what problem do you solve?" Right? And I think that you have to, I think to be smart and to be in business and to want to have a restaurant that you're going to open up your restaurant and it's going to have your name or a name that's important to you. You got to understand who you are and how people want to use you, right?
correct.
I don't think you can open up a restaurant that aspires to be beard worthy or Michelin worthy if you're on the beltway of something, right? Like that at that
Sure.
point, like let's turn and burn, baby. Let's make money.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
have your integrity, right? Like
Please.
you can
Yeah.
do scratch cooking and go fast. I've been a part of it. It's fucking gut wrenching, but amen, brother, go.
Sure. Sure. I think that
You
was the
know,
purpose
but
of having the that was the purpose of having a special, like the chalkboard. Like you have your core menu of what people want, what you want to cook, and what people would love. Make sure they're happy. Quesadillas and tacos and your burgers and your, I don't know, your other your crab cakes or whatever. But then you're on a special board. We're like, hey, look, we got this uni from such and such. Would you guys like to try that? The specialist, I don't know, so you can still get your express yourself. But if I decide to go to a city that's burger friendly, like Dallas, hey, like don't I'm not gonna bully the guests until like, you need to have what I need to make, what I want you to have. Like be smart about like what you're trying to, it's a
Yeah.
business, right? All right, cool. All right. And you probably need to, and if that city is very brunch friendly, even though we all majority of us can't stand brunch, consider it. Because I mean, if that place is a brunch city, consider it. It's a business and it's not about you anymore. You have to think about others, and people are working with you to build themselves. So it's like I need to like, put my pride and whatever it is else aside. And then, if we want to open up a restaurant, it's not about us. It's supposed to be about the bigger picture. And don't get me wrong. And some sushi restaurants and 12 seaters, you should know what you're getting yourself into. The three
Yeah.
Michelin, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. I get it. But if you're just a casual restaurant, where you want to specialize in fish tacos and cool little burgers and cases, whatever, like just think about people, because even the average chef, some chefs don't like ketchup, period. But guess what? Some people, civilians don't think about it that deep, and they want ketchup. And even though
Yeah.
it might hurt you, either you can make it yourself, which you're going to play yourself on, or you can buy it.
Yeah.
Hidden Valley makes a decent thing of ranch, buttermilk dressing. You can
Yeah.
make your own buttermilk dressing. You can. I think people should make their own buttermilk dressing, because I hate saying ranch now. I'd rather say people say, "Yeah, I have ranch." No, but we have buttermilk dressing. I just want to remind people like what we're, like it's
Yeah.
not
I mean,
called ranch, it's a
you
buttermilk
you brought
dressing.
up two things that really like they hit home for me. Number one, like I opened this restaurant here in Seattle, and when we opened, I had this way of like, well, it was a big restaurant. It was 350 seats. So I had cut tomatoes in the form of diced Romas on the line. I had sliced tomatoes for burgers. I had something else, some other like wedge thing on the old school Louis salad, right?
Yeah,
And uh I hated the idea that I was going to throw away tomatoes every day, but like I was insistent. I was obsessed with fresh, 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 fresh because we were so big. And like, if you didn't obsess, you're going to end up serving something a couple days old because line cooks over prep. That's just how it
sure,
is,
sure.
right? And so I started taking all of my I trained my pantry cook at the end of the night to grab a small Cambro, maybe a gallon, and walk down
Yeah,
the line and dump all the tomatoes in it. And then the next morning, every day, depending on the amount of tomatoes, the prep cook would just do a quick bit of red wine vinegar on the tomatoes, almost to cover, some sugar, and a couple of proprietary spices, and it was the
yeah,
sauce. And because it was so sugar laden, right, and because it was vinegared, I could
yeah,
stick it in the walk-in for way too long. And then
yeah,
every couple of weeks, I'd run a special and run that sauce out. Well, I put it on the side of a calamari dish that I was showing to the one of the big honchos, and pardon
yeah.
my language, but the motherfucker loved it. He was like, "I can't get enough of this." He goes, "We need to do this as your house-made ketchup," and I was like, "Whoa." I was like, whoa, like, do you know how many like we're a restaurant on the waterfront in Seattle. Like, I,
Right.
I serve fish and chips by the yard, man. I
Yeah,
serve I will have a dozen burgers on a table on a 12 top. Like, I serve a lot of French fries. I
yeah,
have a
sure.
freezer that is only French
Just
fries,
French fries. Yeah,
right? I'm like, you're talking about filling up my tilt skillet in the back. He's like,
yeah,
really? I'm like, no, no, no. You're talking about one, two, 4 cases of tomatoes. Those are 20. That's 100 pounds of tomatoes. He's like,
yeah,
how often? I'm like, every 3 to 4 days, man. I
yeah,
said the
yeah,
reduction is heavy. The passing through the tammy through the chinois is rough.
yeah.
Like, no. He's like, oh no, this is gonna be the best thing ever. And so we did it. And
Okay.
the funniest thing for me was when the first couple times it happened, well, I want ketchup, none of that shit. And the server's like, no, but this is our. And I remember pulling over one of the servers who'd been with us a long time, and I said, Ian, it's okay, man. Just get him the Heinz. That's what it's there for.
Sure.
Oh, you work so hard. I'm like, it doesn't matter, bro. It
Yeah.
really doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to say no, no, yeah, but no. Like, they
Yeah.
want what they want.
They want what they want.
However, I would like for you to take out the other, make sure that they, be grandma and say, hey, just taste it. And sometimes
Sure.
the kids would be like, well, that's not ketchup, but I like that. And so, we get
Right.
on.
Right.
And then your ranch one, like, I'm with you, like, ranch dressing, really?
Mm-hmm.
But I also was ordered to make a salad that would sort of hit that Caesar space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did a grilled romaine and we made this stuff that was black pepper Parmesan dressing.
Nice.
It was like it was it was what you described. It was a buttermilk dressing with a heap and helping of Parmesan cheese in there, and then
Yeah.
the fresh herbs and a lot of black pepper, and it was
Yeah.
ranch. It was black
Yeah.
pepper Parmesan ranch, right? But we got to call it black pepper, or we got to call it Parmesan dressing on the
Nice.
menu, and my grilled romaine salad, which like shoot me in the face after that one. Unless your grill is next to your pantry, don't
Yeah.
don't do that, man. That's not
No.
nice.
No. No. At all.
No, I mean my cooks when they saw that come on, they're like they're like, Jefe, what what's going on? I'm like, I have some power. I'm the boss, but like when the guy who runs the $45 million, or
Right.
the whatever company says I want that salad because I liked it, I'm like, well, then he's gonna get the salad.
End of story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the lesson for me in that, right, and what we're saying is there's creative ways to do things that the guests want, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's where we as good cooks and as
Mm-hmm.
good chefs and great cooks, like instead of just focusing on my creation, because ain't nobody creating nothing. I'm sorry, right? John Lennon said it, ain't nothing
Sure.
new under the sun.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But we can use our brains and we can use our depth of knowledge to
Absolutely.
curate an experience. There it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To create
Absolutely.
curate an experience for our guests, for our customers, for our patrons, you know. Um,
Th- This right here.
yeah.
This right here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just. There's a lot of just. Hey, man. It's like a majority of that stuff is in that book is just named after people. Like
Yeah.
someone had an idea and did something, and then the Robert sauce, some guy
Yeah.
named Robert, you know what I mean? Like I can keep on going, but like there's a lot of we didn't create anything, man. Like people say, "Hey, Brent, you need to do this and do this and do that and whatever." I was like, "Well, I'm pretty sure, or bring you need to weigh things out, or you need to this is the way you're supposed to do it." I was like, "Well." Moses and Abraham and those guys in the Bible, they didn't have the cookbook. I'm pretty sure they didn't have no popular chef walking around telling them how to make something, because they had stews in the Bible too, in Genesis too. So it's like, you know, yeah, if we have a good imagination, nothing's new under the sun. Everyone, whatever you think you came up with, somebody's doing it in 1500s or 16, whatever it is. I mean, maybe it wasn't written down, so now we feel like, oh man, I created this, but no, there's
Well, this brings up, like, I'm not the kind of person who necessarily argues or like yells at too many people nowadays, but I got into like a shouting match with somebody, and it was just the dumbest. At the end of the day, it was one of the dumbest conversations you could possibly have. But
okay,
she was adamant. This woman was adamant. It was somebody I worked with. She's like, "You are so creative." I'm like, "I am not creative. Let's be honest. I do not create anything." And she's like, "Oh, you're so creative. Why can't you take a compliment?" I was like, "Look, if you want to give me a compliment, say, wow, you're well studied, because that's what I am."
sure,
Right?
sure,
Like, I
sure.
spent years looking at reading magazines,
Mm-hmm,
years reading cookbooks. As
mm-hmm.
time went on, I was reading my phone or I was watching TV, but like, I'm well studied. I understand. And like you, I like to eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, appreciation disorder. God bless it. I'm in. I don't know what mine is necessarily. Um, it might be pork though.
Yeah, bacon
I
appreciation.
might have a bacon yeah, my arm here says bacon is my favorite vegetable, and what would you do for bacon? So,
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
you know, I think I might have a bacon appreciation disorder.
Yeah,
Um, but that's how began to understand how to put out different sauces with things and things that were complementary and, creating, no. Creative.
no.
I don't know. I still fight it. Like I still say I'm just a knowledgeable, well-studied person, of my
Yeah,
craft.
we take things and we remix it or remodel. We take, I can say shepherd's pie or something, and then if I do a variation, maybe I don't use potatoes, I use something else, or I use, it's like I didn't, even though like a polenta shepherd's pie, for example.
I
Like,
love
dude,
it.
that's not, you know what I'm saying? It's like they came from, people. Oh, Brent, I never heard of that before. That's kind of cool. That's inventive. No, I just replaced the grain, or I replaced the protein, I replaced this with that, or whatever. So it's like
You just sent the sheeps to Italy. That's all.
the end. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I didn't really create too much, because I think when people understood what grits or what polenta really was, then you start seeing like prawns on polenta dishes, and it's like, oh, it's the Italian shrimp and grit. I mean, it's just we just take things and we remix it, we substitute, it'd be kind of cool if we took this and reduced that. Like I'm proudful of my red wine caramel. Like I never heard of a red wine caramel in my life, and then I made one, and I
Yeah.
just took the red wine, cooked it down, sugar, and then I, um, took it off the heat, and I mounted it with butter, and it was like, or yeah, and I'm just tasting it, like, oh my, and I hit it with some salt. My goodness, I feel like I know it's been done. There's no way I've created that. It's not popular, but I made it. And I was like, man, look what I made. And I was like, no, I didn't make nothing. It was a spinoff off of the caramel. I just replaced water with red wine. Or one time I did Moscato that way. Or yeah, no, I did rosé with that. It was heaven. I took a I took rosé, cooked the
Right.
alcohol out, cooked it to the syrup, and then I did the butterscotch situation. And I was like, oh my god, I was patting myself on the back, and I still am. But I didn't create that. I just replaced the water with the scotch, or with the rose, or the with the rosé.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, we
mean,
don't. Yeah.
I I had a moment similar to what you're talking about. And I was working for this organization that was celebrating its 110th anniversary. It was a private club. Think like a city club, right? Private
Okay.
hotel, restaurants. 110th anniversary. And so what did they do? They reached out to find as many chefs that were still alive that they could
Okay.
go back as far as they could. And they found this dude, and this was like the epic, like, oh my God, I'm happy I'm a chef moment, right? This dude was like 76 years old. He put on his big, and it's an old school joint, so we had paper tokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this guy had his paper toke at like a 30-degree angle,
Okay.
and he had a bit of a pimp walk,
Yeah.
right? Like he was the jam, dude. He'd been
Yeah.
in Vegas. He'd been in Vegas for a long time, but had been in LA I was working and went to Vegas and I saw him walk in, big Elvis glasses. I'm like, man, he took off the
Nice.
toque at one point. He had like the swoop on the hair.
Oh
I'm
wow.
like, this dude in the kitchen. His name was Eve, Yves. And
Okay.
this dude, like I looked him up and he had won the Chain de Retour like in the 60s.
Oh
Like
wow.
this guy was baller. Oh my God. And he's
Wow.
working this sauce. And it was red wine and onions and some pork fat. And he cooked that sucker down so slow and cooked it down. And then we'd taste it. He's like, do you have any light veal stock? Anything that's not too burnt? I'm like, let me go look. And so I brought him basically I came to him with some veal stock, which he didn't love, and I had some pork stock that I'd been working on, and I
Okay.
kept it blonde, so it looked like chicken stock. And I was like, here. So we put the pork stock in, And I mean, like 2 hours later, it's still going. And he was making love to that sauce, right? And
Nice.
then he just got those onions to just go away, and he
Okay.
pureed it, and he's like, I don't want you to push through the chinois. I want
Okay.
you to let it hang. He goes, we don't even need this sauce until tomorrow night. He says, let it
Okay.
hang. And so we let it hang on the thing, and then it was a big enough event that I ended up with like five Banes and
Okay.
five Chinois,
Oh wow.
right? And then like he got the sauce all strained and he was happy. And then we put it back together and he tasted it. And then he put a disgusting amount of butter. And I was like, wow, that is so amazing. But it was like, oh. And I said, what do you call this? He says, good.
It's
I was
good.
like, I was like, okay. I said, but it kind of feels like Soubise. He goes, yeah, but we go heavier on the red wine. And I was like, yeah, you sure did. Like he had me like cracking bottles, good bottles of red wine to put into the
Yeah.
sucker. And it just made, and I equate it to that caramel only because it's like, it's that. It's like, okay, we could have gone here and done like some stock and some Soubise, but he went
Yeah.
hard red wine. But oh my God, you know,
I That's beautiful. That sounds awesome. I like the way you just said Soubise. Like people, I think the average chef these days don't know what that is. And one time I said it around a bunch of cooks. I was like, you know what we could do with that? We could do a Soubise instead of using the roux with the or like a bechamel. We could just do this and do that, and then we could blah 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 blah. And no one knew what I was talking about, which is fine. We don't know everything,
right.
but I don't know. I've When I first heard of that, I heard it was the regular Soubise, and then it was like a dark Soubise where you can just like you brown everything. I mean, I was like, man,
Caramelize it out and
that's a slept on sauce that people sleep on.
you know,
Yeah.
so that particular place, I worked for a third generation French chef, man. His grandpa was a chef, right? He
Oh
started
wow.
cooking when he was like on a milk crate at 7, right? This dude was knowledgeable, right? Like
Okay.
he was quoting MFK Fisher kind of stuff, right? Like
Good.
he
Nice.
he he was talking about the anthropology of taste and like oh, and I mean, man, he would throw down like some of the spice root stuff, right? He's
Yeah.
like, "Well, we're gonna use this spice because back in 16." I'm like, "Oh my God!"
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
But this guy at the same, he was like, he would put on the toque, like when the toque was off and we were in the office or when we were having a drink after work. He was like the
Yeah.
biggest hearted human. But I'm telling you, man, when he put the toque on, the horns would come out like the
Yeah. Yeah.
devil, dude. And so he got pretty frustrated with me when he said something, and I was like, I don't know what that is, chef. And from that day forward, he started calling me that fucking American. And mind you, this is the executive chef talking to his chef de cuisine. I oversee
Okay.
3 restaurants for this guy, right? And so he would come out of his office and he would say to the banquet chef, who's one of my good friends to this
Yeah.
day, he'd say, "Where's that fucking American?" That's me, right? And one day I had had enough of the abuse, and I went into the office and I shut the door and I said, "Okay, take off your toque and I'll take off my toque." And we took off our toques and I said, "Please sit down. We need to talk." I said, "What the fuck is the problem? Why are you like beating on me?" He goes, "All I want is a French chef that I can say soubise and I don't have to teach them anything. And then I can say," he says, "then I can say this term and then I can get that sauce and I can say this term
Right.
and
Right.
I said, "Okay, I'm not American." And I said, "But I'm a good cook. So
Yeah.
teach me what your word, teach me the language or teach me the technique once."
Right.
Okay? Like
Right. Right. Right.
I'm not a line cook. Like at that
Right.
point I'd been in the kitchen, oh,
A
I
good
don't
one.
know, 25 years.
Sure. Sure.
You
Sure.
know, like just give me the respect. And so
Yeah.
from that day forward, we didn't have any problems really,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like it was a little bit of a joke, right? To call me that American.
Uh-huh.
But he's like, I just want a chef who I don't have to, yeah, I can just say that one thing and get it. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, then just spend the 5 minutes to tell me what you want, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was the first guy that taught me when we were doing veal stock to roast vegetables hard and and wait a little bit on the roast of the veal bones, and
Uh-huh.
then he would do the first hour of roast on the veal bones, and then he would put them on the hard roasted veg.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
He would combine it all. I was like, "Tell me why you do that." He goes, "You tell me when we finish the stock."
Okay. Nice. Okay.
Right? And so you had to do less seasoning at the end, right? Just because sweet and sour and like celery did its job.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Sure.
You got more out of those vegetables than you normally would because
Mm-hmm.
the drippings were coming down and there was that kind of caramelization happening together. But that changed the way I do stocks to this day. Because my
Nice.
whole life it was roast veg on a sheet pan, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you end up losing, and you would deglaze fond on the bones, but you would
Sure. Yeah.
never deglaze the fond off the veg, right? But if you put them together,
Sure.
it all would come together,
That's
right?
correct.
Like you
That's
didn't
correct.
lose anything, and we would deglaze those roasting pans of the veg and the meat, so and the bones. You know,
Yeah.
I
There was
love
a. I had a.
talking about food, man. I love
No, no,
talking about
so yeah,
the
I
old
had a
stuff.
revelation. I had a revelation. I don't know, 5, 6 months ago. Something happened where we didn't use the oven. The oven was broke, or it was packed with something else, and I just couldn't do it. So I used a tilt skillet to do the whole veal stock, and it hit better because like nothing got lost, nothing. There's no scraping. Everything, the vegetables, the veal, the bones, everything was caramelized into the tilt skillet, and it was magic. So when I'm deglazing or whatever the case is, like you don't lose any marrow, you don't lose any whatever didn't come off the sheet tray. It was all in the tilt skillet. So and then it was like, wow, I should do it this way from here on if I have the chance. But yeah, in a tilt skillet, everything in there together. Yeah,
Well, yeah, especially because you can take liquid to it.
sure.
You don't have to go to the
No,
pot.
no, no, no.
Yeah, I mean, oh, you could get me going on tilt skillets. The first time you see a banquet chef make a gallon and a half of Alfredo in 90 seconds because he's running short on the production line.
Oh no, yes, absolutely. I used to. There was this. We'd have this big pot specifically for this big burner. And it
Yep.
was like a NASA fuel, like, you cut it on, and it was intensely just, man, it was like the burner you'd have, but it was like, I can't describe it. It was just a mega, just extremely hot, really, really quickly. There's a time or two where all the burners were used and I needed to cook off a pasta or something. And I remember like putting the skillet on this big freaking burner fire situation. And I remember like right when I cut it on, as soon as I put the garlic in for the pasta we were doing, it burnt instantly. It's like, all right. But yeah, and I just have flashbacks
You know.
of tilt skillet preparations, like if we had to do a big party or something. And I also realized who was a hack and who was. And one guy was like, hey man, we need to he said we need to make risotto. He said we need to make risotto. We need to do risotto for such and such people tonight. He goes, oh, I got it. And he went straight to the tilt skillet and then filled it up with water. I was like, no. So yeah, it's tilt skillets are. It'd be kind of funny if we had a segment on the show, like, all right, cool. You have any tilt skillet stories?
Oh, I mean, the things that you would call hacks now were yesterday's shortcuts or yesterday's
Right.
workarounds.
Sure. Yeah. A good way
But
to
I
put it.
mean,
Yeah.
like I say, I think that within certain spaces, like knowing how to utilize something for an emergency is vital, right? Like that you say, oh, there's no room, so I gotta make the stock in the tilt skillet. Well, that's a freaking win, man.
Yeah.
You know,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
the all of a sudden you're like, man, it's just never been that rich, right? I think that's a well, then that gets me talking about scaling things, right?
Okay.
Like how about when you make that sauce for the menu and you make it either at home or you made two portions and now you scale that up for the prep cook to do 2 gallons and it doesn't taste the same. Why? Because
Right.
probably because we didn't get the right size, right scaled pot to get enough heat on it, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
tomato sauce didn't do a thing, or whatever that is. But
Sure.
it's we think, oftentimes we think that scaling is about ingredients, but it can also be about heat,
That's true. That's very
right?
much true. Yeah.
Right. But
Million percent. Yeah.
that stuff's important. Man, we covered some ground, dog. That's good. I like it. I like it.
Good.
All right, here's the question I've been obsessed with for weeks and months
Done.
lately, and that
Yes, sir.
is, what is a win in your day?
I mean, when I mean when someone says, "I never thought about it that way," like if I'm sharing something, and
Yeah.
if they say, "Oh, well, I mean, this is not too much of a win for some people," but we ran out of powdered sugar the other day, and I think the chef needed quite a bit of it. The pastry chef needed quite a bit of it, and he we needed powdered sugar, and so I was like, because I saw it on no, he came up to me. He said, "Brent, we ordered two powdered sugar since a week and a half ago, and it's still not here. And I need to make these mint things he was doing." And so I was like, "Well, I mean, worst comes to, I mean, you can always make it, you know." And he just never heard of that,
Oh
because what
wow.
happens is the average chef and cook, if you're born and raised getting things out of a can,
Hmm.
you don't know. We think everything comes out of a box or a can, or flour is just gold medal. We don't know where it came from. Hey, we have flour. We don't understand how it became to that point. So I think it's very important for me as a chef and as a cook to know where things come from and how to make it if worse comes to worse. So like,
Right.
I think it's very important. I think it's cool to have an ISI situation to where you can make hollandaise and bernaises and whipped cream, and that's cool, right?
Right.
But guess what? Some places don't have that or don't believe in it. Do you know how to make it from scratch? Do you know how to do
Mm.
the whole bowl thing?
Mm.
So and he didn't know how to make powdered sugar, or he didn't never heard of it. And so I was like, yeah, man, like he had a blender and I had one, and we put sugar in mine and put sugar in his, and said, just make it. And he made it, and that made his day. He was like, what? And he was like, friend, I'm glad that you work here. I would never have done that. I'm not learning this from anybody else, but with you, I learned how to do this, that, this, that. With me, I think one time I made some cornbread, just no recipe whatsoever. Like I know how it's supposed to look, and I know what ingredient does what. And so I just made one off the top of my head. One day I made a souffle off the top of my head. I made a Snickers souffle. It was somebody that went to the Commander's Palace Commander Palace in New
Yep.
Orleans. They went to that
Yep.
spot, and he just came from there. And then here in Dallas, we have a spot called Rise Number One. It's a souffle spot.
Oh
So
wow.
instead of going to the souffle place, he wanted to stay at the hotel, bring his girlfriend there to enjoy a souffle, and he had all these points at this hotel. And so basically, we give him whatever he wants because he had all these points accumulated for throughout the years. And the chef of cuisine said, "Hey, Brent, we know you like to make souffles. We know you like to make stuff. Can you make this guy a souffle?" He was coming in at 9 o'clock, and uh, I don't think he cared what it was. It's a souffle of any kind, because he didn't want to leave the hotel.
Right.
And so I made a Snickers souffle. I got the keys to the to the purchasing agents lockers and stuff. I got like some Snickers. I made an anglaise. I never heard of this in my life, right? But I know what an anglaise looks like. I know what a souffle needs to have to happen. I know how to go about it. And so I legit made a Snickers souffle, and then I got two people was giving me a hard time, and they looking at me, and I want to ask too much questions, and then they gave in. It's like, "Hey, Brent, do you have a recipe for that souffle?" And I said, "No, I already know what egg whites will do. I already know what this is going to do, and here I am. I'm making these souffles, and naturally, I think I made what it was. I think they were going to. No, it was. I think I made 3 or 4 to be on the safe side,
Yep.
of course. But they all came out perfect on the first try. I said, "Hey, is that guy ready? Is he sitting down?" Hey, Brent, they're almost done with their entrees. And so I had a Snickers anglaise, I had a Snickers souffle, rich with Snickers, anglaise, whatever. And then they ate it. and they said, "Hey, that was better than the Commander's Palace." That's a good win.
That's
The
a
fact that I don't
huge
have to
win,
walk
man.
around. I don't have to walk around with a book. I wasn't in my phone. I knew what a souffle needs to look like. I knew what it needed
Mm.
to have. I'm obsessed with Snickers. It's the first time I made it, first time I ever heard of it, and so that's a win when your cooks look and your chefs look at you like, "Hey, Brent, that was pretty cool." And for the guy and his girlfriend, like, "Oh, it was so amazing. We just left Louisiana to have a souffle. This was better than that." Or when
Yeah.
I was in Napa Valley. I did a risotto. No, excuse me. I did a truffle pasta. These older women came up to me and said, "Brent," or they didn't know my name. They said, "Sir," whatever, chef. We just left Milan. We just went on a truffle hunt. We just got truffles, took it back to we're in Italy. The chef took the truffles, made a truffle pasta. This was better than that. That's a win. It just
Amen,
lets me
brother.
know that it just lets me know I'm on the right track. I'd never cared about an award. I've never. I'm Michelin affiliated. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was at a restaurant where I helped open up the restaurant, and they ended up getting a star. I had the Michelin wooden star thing in my hand. Like, I'm connected. The guy I work with, that's his star or whatever. So, but like, I've never cared about none of that. I've only cared if people say, "Brent, can you make the another one of the can you make that lasagna, another bolognese? Can you make that sauce? Like, we can't make it like you." Usually it's a win that lets me know that I'm doing the right track. If I teach somebody something, it may, no matter how basic it is, it could be from melting butter into something or beurre blanc or a powdered sugar. You know,
Yeah.
that was the
I
fact that his eyes lit up. That's
yeah.
usually a win for me.
Yeah. I agree. I think that honestly you hit on something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the joy of doing, but also the joy of sharing the information and the knowledge. I think that communication within kitchens in the last, well, I'll say 10 years, 15 years,
Yeah,
has
yeah,
become very me and not enough we. And I think that as what I a message that I try to get out to people is we need to get back to a place, like we can't get back to the toxic stuff, right? We can't do that. But
no,
we need to get back to a place where it is normal to share recipes. It is normal to share knowledge and information. This idea of oh no, I can't share that with you because you'll go home and make it. No, you're not going to go home and make it. Here, you want
I'm
my
not making it
recipe? Take it, right?
right,
But
right.
but within kitchens, cooking, like it's a communal thing. Like
Yeah,
that's how grandma teaches mom, who teaches daughter or son or whatever. But like
yeah,
and the generations of cooks, like to have
yeah.
somebody that like you in a kitchen that can cook and can cook at a high level,
Sure.
whether it's recipe or not. Like being able to share that with somebody else, that's money.
It's
That's where
it's
we all
beautiful
win. That's where
because
not
because
only do you win, so I love that that's your win because that's super special to me. All right, man,
absolutely.
we're gonna have to wrap this up and say I'm gonna make sure in the show notes that all of the social tags that we can all the places that we can find you will be there.
Okay.
Um, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
To
having
all
me.
you out there, please go out, find the podcast, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Spotify or Apple. Leave us a 5-star review because that shit's important, man. We want more people to feel it and see it and spread the love. And
Yeah.
once again, man, thank you for coming and playing in the sandbox. I appreciate it.
Time well spent.
Awesome.
I
And
appreciate you.
to all you out there, thank you for coming. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Word.